Nobody's ever called me weird. I'm a lot of things, but weird I'm not. And I'm upfront. And he's not either, I will tell you. JD is not at all. They are.
That was former president and convicted criminal Donald Trump desperately trying to claim that he is not weird. So it looks like this discourse about Trump and Vance being weird has gotten under his skin just a little bit. And let me say, as a proudly weird person, I've always been a bit weird, I think it's great that he is angry about it. It just shows you how true it is. Now, what he was doing is he was speaking at the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show on Thursday. And so what they tried to do is to introduce this topic by saying a bunch of things that obviously are not true in a way to try to paint the other people as weird.
When you hear yourself and J.D. Vance called weird by Kamala Harris, who believes that a man should be able to win a women's boxing championship, that a man should be able to be a women's swimming champion. We had Riley Gaines on the show earlier. Who's the weirdo there? What's weird? Actually letting men pretend to be women and win championships, or just saying women's sports should be played by women?
Well, they're the weird ones, and if you've ever seen her with the laugh and everything else, that's a weird deal going on there. They're the weird ones. Nobody's ever called me weird. I'm a lot of things, but weird I'm not, and I'm upfront. And he's not either, I will tell you. JD is not at all. They are. I mean, who wants to have open borders? We're prisoners. That's weird. We're prisoners and we're mental institution patients are taken out of hospitals and jails and they're let into our country. That's weird. Who would want that policy? Who wants the men and women's sports policy? Who wants to quadruple your taxes? The whole thing is weird. And the way they do elections is weird. And no, they're the weird ones. No, we're not weird people. We're actually just the opposite.
We're not weird. We're not weird. You're the weird ones. We're not weird. Says the guy who literally just lied about pretty much everything for a minute straight. Okay? Look, here's the thing. So let's go issue by issue, right? So for one, nobody's saying that men should be in women's sports. There's nobody making that argument. Okay? That said, trans women are women. They're not men. Let's be fair about that. Now, that said, when trans women compete in sporting events, they often get beaten by cisgendered women. Nobody seems to talk about that. They can and have won, yes, but they can and also do lose. In fact, being trans, I hate to have to explain this all the time, but being transgender is not an instant I win button when it comes to sports. It's not. It's not. And speaking of people in the Olympics, they get to the Olympics by being the best of the best, by training nonstop and honing their bodies. Something that Donald Trump doesn't know anything about. Hell, I don't know anything about that. You know? I'm not casting stones here. I'm just saying that they do train meticulously to try to get to the Olympics. And by the way, you know, speaking of unfair advantages, right? Well, there's this Michael Phelps is like been described as pretty much a mutant, okay? And yet this guy gets universal praise for the unfair advantages that he has in his sport. So you can be a man and have all these unfair advantages over, over other men. But if you're a woman and you just perform well or you perform better, that automatically in their mind makes you a man. That's bizarre. And these are the people who, by the way, say, you can't change your sex. Really, if you perform too well, you think that women are men. If they perform too well, okay, in these sports, or they don't fit your traditional, very narrow definition of femininity. Okay, they're men. Okay, but anyway, look, sports. Getting back to that real quick. One last point. Any one of these people who go to the Olympics or who are in professional sports, they already have a massive advantage over the average person, okay? And so they have these advantages, and advantages, yes, do happen in sports. They do exist. And so, look, the IOC cleared the both boxers to fight. They're both cisgendered women. I don't see the issue. But again, this entire boxing issue, an Olympic issue, has just been filled with right-wing misinformation and disinformation and just flat-out transphobia. And it's really disgusting to see. There are no trans women in the 2024 Olympics. Simple as that. Now, there is a trans person. There's a trans man, Filipino boxer Hergy Poseidon. But, however, he, because he identifies as he, born female, is competing in the women's division. Why? Because Hergy has refused to take HRT. He says, I'm not going to take T. I won't take it now. I won't take it ever. Right? That's just not who I am. But inside, I identify as a man. Okay, cool, great. Now, that said, the other lies, of course, are on immigration. Oh, they're emptying out their prisons, sending people over the border. All that stuff has already been like debunked before. No evidence whatsoever. It's just nonsense. But let's get back to weird, right? Pretty obvious how triggered the Republicans are at being called weird. Okay, and it's funny. Trump is weird, though. He says bizarre, nonsensical things all the time. I know. I've been covering him for so many years. So many wasted years. As for J.D. Vance, also weird. All right? The guy wants to police women's reproductive systems. He's admitted it. He's talked about it a lot. He wants to give children's votes to their parents. Raise the taxes of childless Americans as a punishment for not having children. He's one of the guys who can't stop complaining about drag queens at the Paris Olympics and who call, Beyonce's music satanic. These are the people who believe that they deserve to control everyone who doesn't fit into their very narrow view of what society should look like. That's who these people are. And not only that, but their economic policies, and this is why they don't want to talk about them, only help the rich and powerful, and their social policies hand off control of women's bodies to far-right lunatics. That's weird. Now, that said, that's the bad weird. There's a good weird, too, right? Living weird, and in the good way, is just being different, okay? It's being different than everyone else, but not harming other people. Bad weird believes in all sorts of outdated, misogynistic, and racist ideas that society has left behind. Okay, they are trying to renormalize that stuff that we left behind because they were bad ideas. They were outdated and left behind for a reason. Decades ago, sometimes even centuries ago. These people want to bring it back. That's why they're weird. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.